I'm Stephen Foskett, the organizer of Tech Field Day, and we are here at Aruba Atmosphere 2015, and we are taking some time to do a Tech Field Day roundtable. So I'm going to allow our panelists to introduce themselves before introducing the topic of this discussion.
Keith Parsons, wireless design professionals, and I blog at wmpros.com.
George Stefanick, wireless architect at the Houston Methodist Hospital, located in Houston, Texas. I blog at my8to11.com.
Jake Snyder, I'm a wireless systems engineer. I'm on Twitter at jsnyder81, and I blog at transmitfailure.blogspot.com.
I'm Ryan Adzima. I'm a wireless engineer. I'm on Twitter at radzima, blog at techvangelist.net, and co-host the Whiskey and Wireless Show.
I'm Jennifer Huber. I tweet at Jennifer Lucille. I'm a wireless engineer, and I blog at jenniferhuber.blogspot.com.
Blake Krone. You can find me online at blakekrone.com, Twitter at Blake Krone, and I also host the No Strings Attached show.
I'm Craig Schnarrs. I blog at thewifiguy.net, and my Twitter handle is the_Wi-Fi_guy. Thank you.
My name's Alex Lewis. I'm not a wireless engineer, and I tweet at Alex Lewis.
My name is Andrew Von Nagy. I have a blog at revolutionwifi.net, and my Twitter handle is at revolutionwifi, and I'm a mobility architect.
All right, very good. So the next discussion topic that's been brought up, improving air quality. How can you use tools and tactics to improve operational Wi-Fi? Who wants to introduce this one?
Keith.
Keith?
Okay, I'll take this one on. I think one of the things we saw in the keynotes was, especially this morning's keynote with Kerti, is one of the foundationals of Aruba is an operational side that your Wi-Fi just has to work. All the other bells and whistles and all the rest of the demos we saw had to do with adding location or beacons or management. All comes down to you have to have the wireless has to work, and yet. In many discussions we've been having this week, it still comes back to the fundamentals. Fundamentals of co-channel interference, airtime fairness, getting on and off the network.
Channel reuse.
Channel reuse, the size of channels. The things that we've been talking about for 15 years are still bugging us. And until we get those locked down, we'll still be fighting them. That's where we have to finish this. And then just to put a shout out to George's 10 talk as well. If you haven't watched it, you want to get the recording of that on, the clients have to work. The client side's got to do its job. So we can do as good as we can to make it work on one side, but the clients have to play. But those fundamentals haven't changed.
Well, and let's realize as Wi-Fi engineers, to a certain extent, let's not play the victim here. Sure, there are bad clients out there, but it's our job to make stuff work. So let's just, realize that that's the reality we live with, and try not to, just
educate the clients.
Well, it's our responsibility to explain in explicit detail why it's the client driver that's the problem.
It's not only responsibility, they will not talk to you unless you do.
Yeah, unless you solve the problem.
And to what Ryan said, every Christmas is still going to be a rough time.
Yeah. It's our responsibility to build networks that work regardless of the client driver, but aren't there organizations out there that are supposed to make sure wireless is interoperable?
They're not.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not their role. If it was, we wouldn't be having these issues.
Right.
We kicked off an all wireless office almost a year ago now, and it was a rocky road at first. And to kind of give you some demographic, it's 300 users, 600 devices. Everything is wireless. Only cables pulled are to printers, so it's not 100%, and the APs. Our biggest challenge and hurdle was clients. And we quickly realized we needed to standardize on the client. We needed to test drivers. We needed to validate those. And we needed to get testers. And we've gone from literally 12 disconnects a day. We took the rocky road out of the configuration on the infrastructure side down to about 6 disconnects a day. We realized the 6 disconnects were client related. We standardized on Intel. We worked closely with Intel. To the point where they provided us scripts to run. As soon as an individual had a disconnect, we already had the sniffing on the back end. They would launch the script, pull in all the driver information. We send everything off to Intel. They provided us beta drivers thereafter. And I'm happy to say with that work, and it's just not me, but it's my team, we were able to take disconnects down to 2 a week.
I would echo that because, I mean, I did an all-wireless deployment back when Aruba was pushing it initially with 11N in 2009 or so. And there's a lot of work that goes on the back end, specifically on the client side, to echo, the drivers. We didn't have consistency when I worked at Target around, the driver levels, even what chipsets were spec'd. I mean, they were just buying whatever, right? And you have to get consistency.
Changes them,
You have to get consistency around that, and don't just go for the cheap end. We figured out what worked and what didn't. Okay, the standardized future purchases on those models that we think work well, and standardize on driver updates. Don't just push them out through Windows Update whenever they come out.
Now with that though, I mean, that works in an environment where you control the machines through Active Directory or whatever management system you have, but higher education, public venues, they don't have that luxury at all. In fact, they can't even say we don't support that. We have to support it no matter what. Now they don't have to fix it if it's a problem. It may be that, okay, your drivers are corrupted and you need to go fix that, but they at least have to dive in and try to fix all these issues.
That led a question for George. What do you do? Obviously, if you're running all wireless, that's your gear. What about the BYOD, and are you running a voice handset that also has an Intel chip in it?
No, so we have a number of voice products, the Cisco phones, the Becerra badges, and some other unique niche products. So when it comes to the production devices, we have a lot of control. We work closely with our desktop team, who's part of the purchasing. We work closely with the server team, who does imaging and GPO pushing. So the devices that we can control, we have very solid relationships to ensure the success on the wireless side. Now when it comes to like universities, where it's like our guest network, and thank God I don't work for a university. And you guys, I'll tell you, you see everything, and you see it all the time. And I consulted recently at a university where you had some letters go to the dean because they were having some problems, and I'm seeing some heads shake. Yeah. So the network crew didn't know how to handle the situation, so they called in. I came in and showed them what a bad network looked like, what a good network looked like, and told them your network's fine. We need to talk to the users. And sure enough, we get the 3 guys independently. They're running drivers from 2006, 2008, 2009, and it was a simple driver upgrade. But before we did that, we did a whole test. We'd sniffed the packets. We're hearing their story, what works at home. The wireless here at the university just stinks and da-da-da-da. And I'm thinking to myself, it's funny because in the area that you're having the problem, we asked a dozen other people, everything's fine. It's you that's having the problem. So yeah. It's a challenge, especially when you can't control those devices. You have to do the best you can.
Yeah, PEPCAC has always been wireless.
It's always the wireless.
The first step, though, is making sure you do have the wireless up to snuff.
Absolutely.
If there was a problem, you couldn't ever lock on the client issues if the network wasn't doing it. So your story along the way is make sure you've done our infrastructure side as well as possible, and then they'll kind of stick out. You'll see where those issues are.
At the universities, I started in universities. That was where I first got my start in networking and technologies, and AP 1000s from Orinoco's and kiosk and airport extremes. Before wireless was even something that you needed everywhere. And I agree, I feel bad for universities because they have to make devices that none of us would ever consider critical on our networks work. Xboxes, PlayStations, Wii's, all of that, and that just kills you. I wish you could block them, but then I've you get the dean letters because some kid wants to play Battlefield or something, or Call of Duty, instead of studying for his test. I mean, that's just what happens.
Well, unfortunately, like so much of IT, if we could just get rid of all those darn users, everything would be fixed up. You know what I mean? I mean, applications would run beautifully. Even storage would work. We do have a couple of questions from the audience. I want to get a chance to go. Go ahead.
Hey, it's Matt McKenna. How you guys doing?
Matt.
Nice to see you. 2006, it was a dark time in our force. Keith came to visit us, and Andrews actually visited us as well back in the day. But for this reason, we had a bunch of Wi-Fi issue problems, and it was before my time at my company, which is Capital One. 4-channel was being used, 4-channel, 1, 4, 8, and 11. Users were just making it was a best effort service, and we had a number of issues when I came on board the company. And what I've seen over and over again for us is It's political pull, political nature, dealing with, we have workforce technology teams that are supposed to be focused on the technology, but they're so buried deep with other technology and pushes to do great things that it's hard to get the planning with those folks. So we have developer use cases where they're bringing in everything they can to work, and they're saying, well, it sucks, it's really slow. What are you using? It's a home MacBook, or it's an older phone, because we have to test out what the user experience is like. Well, how are we supposed to capture that? And that's our big challenge of my team here, is sort of capturing those requirements and doing the best we can. And so we start with a great basic, how do we design a Wi-Fi experience in the first place? So we go in our lab or isolated environment, and we build it out. We use the tools. It has to be tweaked, and we create a baseline so we can show what a good or bad Wi-Fi looks like. So that's my piece. Is that for us, it's political and dealing with a lot of different groups that just have so many requirements, and not having a common committee or consortium form to fix that or address that. So we do the best we can do. And I say let it break slowly. If you don't get your full support from CEOs and different leaders in the group, sometimes you have to let it break slowly to show them that, hey, you want let's address the issue, but we're doing what we can do. Thank you. Is that it? Sorry.
All right. Does anybody have a response?
Yeah, real quick, I want to add something to that. I was on the partner side for many years, 8, 9 years. And now I'm on the customer side. So where before I would just install the network, kind of, do the customer facing, put on my Superman cape, do my thing, leave. Now I have the network, it's mine, and I own it. And it's a different piece. It's a different animal. Going back to the fundamentals that Keith talked about earlier, I know fundamentally in my mind that this particular building is designed properly and nothing's changed. I can almost discount that it's not the wireless network and immediately move into the client issue. It's when you don't have that mental checkbox saying, I'm not really sure if that network's really designed right.
Did they have a
APs aren't
survey?
that, don't have the cell size, I don't have this proper cell channel. So just want to mention there's that mental checkbox that you need to have. And then you have to work from one end to the other to make sure it's working.
You can think of that also as just oversimplistically, we plug in and we get a link light. We don't troubleshoot down the stack because we just feel, oh, we got a link light, that whole side's okay, and then we can focus elsewhere. We need that same confidence when we put something on the wireless and it gets associated, we go, oh, it's good. That's not the issue, it's someplace else.
Well, and I think Matt brought up a very good point that there is a huge political aspect to this. When you are in an organization on a customer-facing, role, in a customer role, and I lived that for a number of years, and if you don't acknowledge the elephant in the room, that is, you have to work through a political system, you know how to have to handle your management, you have to know how to talk to them, how to abstract appropriately, and advocate and draw the business case for what you want to do. And there's a disconnect there because I see a lot of engineers that they really know the technology, but frankly they don't know the company they're in, the political environment they're in, and they don't know how to navigate that very well. And so they can know how to fix it, but they can never get justification to fix it or approval to fix it because they just don't know how to communicate effectively up into those management levels. And so I think that's kind of a skill gap that in IT in general, if it's the manager, if it's the engineer, whoever plays that role within an organization has to do that really well, and that can play a big role.
Okay, we've got another comment here in the audience. You want to go ahead?
I just have a question. Going back to something Ryan said. There is a group that's out there that's supposed to, help define what client devices can do and should support. And we have things like 11W and 11R that have been around for a while. And I guess, the question is, how do you get the Wi-Fi Alliance to start cracking down? You pointed at the camera just in the last discussion and said, you guys need to get on this. That's a big issue too, right? Client devices are all over the place.
I think with that is you don't need enterprise features in consumer devices. You definitely don't want consumer features in enterprise devices. So there needs to be more than just Wi-Fi certified. It needs to be broken down into categories. Wi-Fi certified for X, Y, and Z, and you don't have Z capability, you're not going to work well on this network or at all on this network. And we won't support your device on this network. BYOD, you say our network is certified for this level.
But here's where we get to, right? Wi-Fi Alliance and before that WECA was important because people didn't know what it was and they needed some assurance. We've moved to the point where Wi-Fi is so ubiquitous that I'm seeing more and more devices get thrown out there that do not have Wi-Fi Alliance certification of any form. and people buy it because they think it's Wi-Fi, they know it has
cheap.
capability, and frankly, that logo doesn't it have the impactful, market presence for consumer-level devices, and even enterprise, I would say at this point, to a certain extent.
They don't test the enterprise features.
No.
So I don't know
Wi-Fi
that
certification doesn't mean anything.
But I don't know
Wi-Fi
that
lines
consumers ever paid attention to that logo on the device and gave it any kind of merit to begin with.
If you
Consumers
start getting-
doesn't care.
They
It's,
pay
it's
attention to
enterprise.
price and nothing else.
When there was complete incompatibilities, they did.
If you start getting emails from your IT department that devices only certified under this will work, and we will not support anything below that,
And they escalate.
For God's
though.
sake, we still have client
And
drivers
if
that do 2.4 only. I
Then
mean,
you end up with the VP or president who says, I'm going to use this device anyway, tell IT to
Been there,
support it.
done that.
But I think this is hopefully
that's
where,
when you need good executive buy-in. You need buy-in from a CIO, CTO that will back you up.
And if they
on that
don't,
stuff.
I mean, I agree with you. And if they don't, you could risk your job.
When was the last time you saw a CIO tell a CEO what kind of device he could have?
I fortunately had that at my university.
It's pretty rare.
I had a CIO that went to bat for me when I said I need teeth on this situation. He gave it to me. He let me set standards
I
and
said the same
enforce
thing,
them.
and those teeth bit me.
That's pretty. Yeah, I think that's pretty rare. I think hopefully this is where the wireless advisory board or whatever.
Yeah.
This is where education comes in. Executives need to be educated on why those things need to be in place.
Well, and this is only going to get worse with IoT and all the expansion of
Wave 2
different weird, crazy
5G
devices that are going to
this
start
and
hitting us,
6G
right?
Yeah, that's the thing that worries me about Internet of Things is that these devices are not ever going to be upgraded. If you're worried about driver updates,
It's a marketer's
and you're worried
dream.
about,
How do I update my Wi-Fi toaster?
No,
Revenue stream, always needing maintenance.
The refrigerator's wireless
Yep.
card is not going to be upgraded.
Jen made ace at 4:30 a.m.
So we've got another comment here from the audience, Ryan.
Ben Carnivale, University of Texas at El Paso.
Texas, yes.
Yes, Texas.
Don't encourage him.
I spotted Texas in you when you had that hat on, man.
Oh yeah.
How could you detect it? I don't see
Yeah,
any
yeah.
Texas at
Way
all.
we roll
right
in
here.
Texas.
Yep.
I think everything you guys were saying, coming from the university perspective, we do have the handcuffs on us, if you will. We can't knock those devices off. One student yelled at us and said, I can't get past level so-and-so of this because my neighbor is using too much of the bandwidth. And, and well, we did not adjust our network for him, of course. We just said, plug it in.
Did you give them the cheat code to get past that
Yeah.
level?
But going on further is we did put in some restrictions, if you will, that was suggested. We have policy. We don't like wireless desktops. We don't like the whole competing thing with the wireless users in certain areas roaming in and out, and because of desktops, because they're stagnant, you get all these issues on occasion. So we tell them, you're welcome to put them on the wireless network, but we're not going to jump through hoops to get it to work if it happens to fail between this time and that time because of such and such and such and such. So we have in there developed certain restrictions from an IP, because there's no way we can support all those things. And we see thousands of different versions of drivers of different OS. We're just talking. I just talked to my boss earlier today. Said, "Hey, Wi-Fi wired phone calling is coming out real big here soon, so we need to think about that now." Well, we're going to have to put out an email saying, "Well, we are not set up for that kind of scenario." So all the air quality issues that we're discussing are in education. I know there's some other educational guys here. We're all dealing with the same headaches. It's being at the university as long as I have. I've been with wireless for 13 years, so I think you just evolve with it. And the education portion of it, teaching the clients, we see a lot of rooted items that get put on a network that just fail because they're not rooted properly or they're just badly rooted. All those little just annoying little discrepancies in the devices. That's not going to change, right? It's never going to change. So we just roll with it at a university level, I think, right?